Oh,
Okay.
Oh, you're downspout.
Ready? Yep. Well, it's 6 o'clock, everybody, so. All right, we'll go ahead and call this council special session to order. Discussion topic is, discuss proposed public safety facility with the planning commission. The city council had, a testimony that was given about, the Luba appeal and being withdrawn, and so, I asked Jacob to, I'm gonna turn it over to Jacob to, facilitate this meeting to discuss it immediately with the city council and planning commission, so. Jacob, do you wanna take over from there?
sure, yeah, and I want to be limited in my time, so you have plenty of time to discuss. So we had the 90-day pause that ended, and then both parties agreed to an additional 45-day pause to discuss, maybe come to terms. So the new deadline is May 12th. So we have this gathering here at the next available meeting, since last decision or last meeting is when the council made this decision to acknowledge that 45 days. So that's the purpose of this, to get that conversation, maybe find some direction, given this extra time that we have. And of course, the other parties are here. I don't know if you want to include them in the discussion or not. I'll leave that up to you, Mayor, as the meeting leader. I want to spend maybe 5 minutes doing a quick 10,000 foot level. Some of the details. I know it's been some time. I think, especially because we have some new people, a little bit of context may help in the discussion. But like I said, I don't want to take that much time. So in the packet, I included the presentation for the city council at the appeal hearing for the police station. So some of these slides I won't even mention. It was just something easy to include in the packet without spending a bunch of time. So that's the location of the site that we're talking about, and maybe we'll talk about the others too. And then the existing one. If you go to the next slide, we've talked about need a lot. I don't think we need to go into that here. That's just a street view of the Castor Road site. So this is a good one to talk about briefly. Obviously, the floodplain is something we've talked about quite a bit. The subject property, subject to challenge, is outlined there in yellow. The blue is the 100-year floodplain, and the 500-year floodplain is represented by the purple color. So you can see that a lot of the property is not encumbered by the floodplain, but it is flirting with the 100-year by Old Portland Road. And as you can see, the floodplain extends northeasterly up Old Portland Road. That was one of the things that we kind of talked about before. You can also see some wetlands there on the right side. So if we go to the next slide, this is just some of the code stuff. A public safety facility is like a police station. That's a category in a zoning ordinance. And depending on the zone, that depends on what process we go through. For this property, it was a conditional use permit. Conditional use permits have certain criteria. One of those is that the characteristics of the site are suitable for the use. And if you recall, basically I said, this is the does it make sense based on all the stuff to consider. In flood policy, critical facility specifically means things like hospitals and police stations, and even a slight chance of flooding is too great. So that's just one of the things you want to consider. And critical facility policy, if it's in the 100-year floodplain, you're supposed to consider other sites to say, yes, this one reigns supreme based on all the stuff. And an access is highlighted in that, and access is one of the things that we talked about quite a bit through the hearing. So we'll go to the next slide. Okay, go ahead and next one. Thank you for the quick laugh. We have to have some humor. So this is a little zoomed out picture showing the floodplain. Again, 100 in the blue, 500 in purple. If you recall, we talked about this mushrooming effect where Milton Creek interacts with the bridges. You can see it up by the highway and along Old Portland Road, which is creating that extension, if you will, of the floodplain. Next slide. So when we look at floodplain stuff, we don't just look at the map, we have to look at the profile because it is a three-dimensional phenomenon. And if we go to the next slide, we can see a bunch of orange lines. Those are called base flood elevations or determined elevations of the water. So we have more acute information than, for example, if we were in the county, in which we wouldn't have those orange lines. And the next slide, oh, and the sheriff's office is noted there too. I know that was one of the places that we kind of talked about, mostly affected by the 500. So the next slide, this is looking a little closer at the Castor site. Note the yellow line, not the orange ones. Those are the base flood elevation lines, but the yellow line, that's a cross section to give you just a visual of what, if we just cut a section out and looked at it. So let's go to that then. So that shows, at least based on the maps, about a 5-foot depth in the road, which decreases as you go onto the site. And so access was one of the big things we talked about. Next slide. This just shows you the grid, that this site was kind of on the edge of it. The existing police station site is highlighted in yellow there. Next slide. So some of the pros, go ahead, past Winston Churchill. All right, so this is a good one for some context because it shows some of the, well, it represents the selection process in one map. The phase 1, the first round of properties considered are highlighted in red. The round 2 are highlighted in yellow. Of course, they were also part of phase 1. Some of those we talked about at the last joint meeting with the council and commission, and then the green is the subject property itself. And I think that's the last slide I wanted to talk about. Just kind of go through the rest, Kathy, make sure. Okay, yeah, this is one. One of the things we talked about was potential to expand. So we had this map just to show some of the potential that this site had. And I think the next slide talks about the proximity to railroad crossings. Yes, it does. So that was one of the things identified by the police that mattered. And so we prepared this to give a visual of the equidistance of the site from the railroad crossings. Some of the other sites might not be too different, but this is a good thing to consider. And maybe some of these slides in your discussion, we want to go back to just see it, and that's why I included this. And I think that's the last slide I wanted to talk about. Yeah, go back 1, 2. So just a quick on the 100-year extending up Old Portland Road. As a critical facility, we need to have an access that avoids that. And so this shows that secondary access intended to avoid the map 100-year flood. So with that, that's just an introduction to help get some of these details back in your mind to help the discussion. Discuss.
Yeah. Who'd like to start?
I have a question since I joined the planning commission after a great deal of this, just so I have the context correct. So the primary restrictions that we're dealing with are triggered by the 100-year floodplain, not the 500-year floodplain. Okay. Glad I got that in my head accurately.
And I'd like to add that the building itself, and correct me if I'm wrong, John, sits about 2 to 3 feet above the 500-year floodplain.
Mitigated in the design, and the point of the access road was in the event of the intersection being flooded, because that is in the 100-year floodplain.
I don't think there's any argument that we want to build this building, and the reason that I support this particular site, for one, is the potential to expand it. Right, there's going to be plenty of parking. It's still highly visible, and if we were to site it at the other areas, personally, I think that up on Columbia Boulevard, I think it would be a great place to site it. But to me, that's more of a place for like putting in a restaurant, or you know what I mean. It's more of which you can put the police station there, and yes, the police they're gonna be out and about for the majority of the time that they're on shift. They're not at the police station unless they're writing reports, they're doing, interviews, they've gotta, that sort of thing. So I just, and the whole thing that I think the risks have been well mitigated and well documented, that it's out of the floodplain. There's a secondary access road that would get in the, if this event should happen, because we can't predict anything. And we don't know, I mean, all the modeling's great, but we don't know if that's gonna happen. We don't. So from my standpoint, I just, if we were to put it on Columbia Boulevard somewhere, the expansion is gonna be limited. And this site gives us the opportunity to expand either upwards or out. That's my take on it. I also don't have a problem with it on Columbia Boulevard. I just think it would be better suited to a restaurant or a retail store, retail spaces in general.
And part of where we're at here, because we have this 45 days. And so, if we stick to this site, then, do you want to fight? Or do you want to talk about terms with the other party? Those are your options.
The other thing about this site too is it's city owned. If we resolve this issue, we can be building right now or tomorrow, whenever it's resolved and be moving forward. If we go to the Columbia Boulevard site on 18th or whatever street that's on, we're gonna have to pretty much demo the building, potentially move the sewer line, and it's still just one city block. Versus this, which is, I don't know how many city blocks that would be.
Can you just clarify the access road? Where I was having an issue with this thing was that width of the access road was only wide enough for a fire truck, didn't meet any street standards of any kind. Also, do we have any testimony about the neighbors of the people that live there that don't necessarily want traffic going through their quiet neighborhood?
We didn't have any testimony from the neighbors, really at all. And the access road, I believe was 20 feet. For minimum fire apparatus access. And the planning commission did talk about increasing it, although they ultimately denied it. And I think it was 24, although I don't remember those details specifically.
Wasn't there a choke point though, where it got narrow and there's not?
There was one point. Yes, good memory. And that is something that they checked with the fire marshal. He's the fire marshal at the time. That's changed now, who was okay with it.
And the police went and looked at that access road also, and it would serve their.
As I remember, the choke point was a buffer, the wetland buffer that could potentially be mitigated for. Not necessarily a physical choke point.
For me, I think the floodplain is still a big issue because you don't build a critical facility in floodplain. And I personally believe in global warming, and I think more, as we've seen, more catastrophic weather's coming. So what good is, I fully support building a police station. I think it's really necessary. I was amazed when I toured the facility how bad it was. So I support building a police station. I'm not prepared to support it at that location. My two issues are the access road and the floodplain.
Expense too, it's added expense to build it in the floodplain. And the only reason the building's not in the floodplain is because you're gonna cost money to get it higher.
Wasn't in the original cost.
Yeah.
It would be cheaper to build it at another location without that extra footing and everything. If there's tanks in there.
Sewer, moving sewers and doing all that too, because that wasn't looked at in the Castor Road property.
Moving the sewer here.
In the Columbia Boulevard, we'd have to extend the sewer lines and stuff, right?
Under the LPG site, the sewer line.
There's an easement there.
Not a problem.
I mean, cost wise, does it really make a huge difference?
I don't think so. You're gonna have other cost here, those piles of dirt. They're just not, can't be there. They have to be engineered, they have to be put in lifts, so all that dirt has to be moved, brought back in, put in lifts. Geotechnical has to clear all that if it's the good enough dirt. Don't know if it is or not. All that is very expensive, plus your footings have to be different sizes for a floodplain like that. So you've got huge expense down there. That road that is one way in, one way out, if they do have a flood. Isn't a critical facility need access both directions in and out when they're trying to
Well, it
survive?
would just be personnel going in and out, so they would be communicating with each other, I'm sure.
Across. Yeah, I mean, you.
So, I mean, you have the sheriff's on one side and you see on the police. So they cover both sides.
Well, I think there's a difference between statutory minimum that you need to meet code, and then just as a policy question, whether it's a good idea. And it sounds like, if I'm understanding correctly, we can mitigate around the code minimum. So I think at this point, the question becomes, at least the cost benefit, we're putting it somewhere else. It sounds like people have already talked that one through pretty well.
I think I was on the planning commission when this first came up, and we talked for a long time with it. Jacob was living it for years, pretty much. And we worked hard on it there, and we came up with that decision that it was not the place for it, so.
But on your question though, no, we have not looked at the price. Nobody can say for sure what the price will be. We do know on this one site, because Mackenzie has worked this far and worked with David Lance, who's the project manager on it, that we could get it for 12.6 million. Okay. Nobody has done any feasibility on any other sites. We have not gotten there. That's the purpose of this meeting, is to talk about, is there even a flavor of interest for building on this site? Because the cost he proposed, maybe a settlement, I don't know what that looks like. I don't, but if there's not a flavor, there's no reason to even talk about it. So that's what this is, that's the purpose of this meeting, why I called it and asked Jacob to have it. So, but the answer to your question is no. None of us are experts and have done that. Because there's a difference between 100-year floodplain at the state level and 500-year flood. And a lot of the references are on the 100-year floodplain. The building is not in a 100-year flood. I don't know about footing sizes. I don't know about any of that. I'm not a contractor. And I would beg, unless somebody has proof in an ORS to prove that, or a city code, they should really not reference that unless they know for sure.
Well, Jacob, isn't part of the plan design, like Russ was talking about, to raise that building with that existing pile of dirt, isn't that already built in? That's why the dirt's there, that would be moved around to accommodate the footings and whatever you needed to do to raise it and secure it.
John would know a little bit more on that because he's.
Yeah, that is structural fill, and it would need to be removed and installed, like Council Hubbard's saying, and lifts and.
Plan.
It's in the plan, yeah.
So from the city standpoint, John Walsh and Chief have been sitting through on those meetings. Jacob, on his behalf, has not been sitting in these meetings. I don't think too much. Is that correct? As far as the cost feasibility?
No.
Okay. That's just been John Walsh and our Chief of Police, Chief Greenway.
Also, Sundeep's been part of the.
Okay.
Yeah, available.
So that is correct, though, what John just said.
So didn't the city hire a hydrologist or somebody to give scientific advice as to the potential of problems there, and what did they, I mean, we all have our opinions, but what does a professional scientist say?
Well, so when we were looking at this and going, wow, this map's really weird. Is it accurate? And maybe it's so screwy that if we reanalyze it, it'll show that it's out, and maybe we can amend the map and make it a non-issue. So we did hire a hydrologist and they used the same model that uses the map. And if it showed more 100-year and more 500-year on the property and elsewhere. So if we amended the map, it would generally worsen the situation. And so we never followed through with the formal. So it's all preliminary. And some of us saw it, but you know, it's not anything formal in a file. But that was a significant factor in we better raise this thing. That preliminary modeling that showed, okay, there might be something here. This is a critical facility. It's important that it's protected because of the use. So we really should raise it, even though you could argue it's not required. So that's why it was talked
Well,
about.
that's the extra 2 feet that you're referring to.
Yeah, so that's why it was discussed as something going above and beyond.
And is it not true that there was only the one corner of the building that would be in the 100-year floodplain that the water could potentially reach?
I don't even think it's the building, right? That would have been the parking lot.
Yeah, it was the parking lot originally. Yeah.
It wouldn't even touch the
The building
building.
was out of the 500. You're right, Councilor Chilton.
After reviewing things, I really felt it was mitigated well. The sheriff's department is also sitting on a 500-year floodplain, is that correct?
That's right.
That's correct.
So it would be interesting to know the numbers, just because I know how costly it is to bore through rock, and I think Russ knows that pretty well too. So moving, sewer systems.
Yeah.
Not systems, but a line, there's planning and engineering and physical work, and who's gonna be hired to do that. It's kind of hard to know without some numbers.
Yeah.
Really.
And you have a building, so. I'm not opposed to it, it was the first site, but I said this in the last meeting, one's gonna be the county's in the 500-year, a portion of where they offered us to build. And then the other one, the building that we'd have to buy the property, tear down the building and move which I think is the best site. I think it's a great location for a $12 million building to sit. But the purchase of the property, the sewer relocation, and then the demolition, what is that cost?
Owner's a property developer, who's to say he won't trade properties? What if he's interested in something that the city hasn't trade?
Dawn's been having those conversations with him, so.
Nothing too formal, but yes, we've had some conversations about potential swaps.
There's a few of you that haven't spoke that if you wanted to talk a little bit.
My concern is that you hired a hydrologist and got a result that we didn't like, and now we're not using that anymore.
Well, we elevated the building by extra, so we mitigated it. Respectfully, that's my take of it. Take off of the
It
hydrology.
was nice to actually see what they had produced,
That's fair.
production.
Yeah, the comment was, wow, there's a lot of water, but it's probably shallow on this site.
From the hydrologist?
Yeah,
Sorry.
Yeah.
Is this a hydrologist?
It's hard and shallow.
and I remember, I wish I had a video camera to get that snapshot of the video. Because it's hard to, I'm not a Jedi Knight and can just, this is what I see, but I was there, John was there. I think Matt Brown was there and maybe the chief.
For what it's worth, at the last meeting where the chief gave his report, I asked him if he still wanted to site it here, and he said yes. And there's multiple reasons for that. A lot of that is the central location, the fact that if there is a train, you've got multiple ways to get in and out to the other side of the highway. Not that can't be done with a different location, But we're time sensitive, right? We gotta get where the police need to get where they need to get within a matter of minutes. And this is probably the quickest way, in my opinion, to get around the city without being impeded by any sort of train or traffic. There's multiple access points.
Brandon asked all the police, they were sitting here one night, Brandon asked all the police if they cared where the site was.
And they did.
They did care.
And both of these sites that we're talking about now, they support both of them, so it's not like it's one over the other. To me, cost is still a big factor. I would like to see what's one gonna cost over the other. I think we need to make sure we're getting into something that we can afford. I was happy to see what I saw with this site and how things were mitigated, and I don't have a lot of concerns there. I think it was well planned out and taken care of, but I don't have, not opposed to the other side either if it's feasible.
So in terms of this site, is there a sense of whether, for those who are objecting to it, are there more mitigation measures that would address the objections, or is the position that the site is just fundamentally untenable?
To me, it's like having the king sit on the hill and you have a flood around you and your people can't get to the king and the king can't get to, so. If they're gonna drive up there, get out, row their boat across, and it's like, just because.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get a sense of like what the context is, yeah.
Side of the building, you have to be able to.
Well, my feeling at the planning commission was that I'm not super excited about the location in terms of potential flooding of all the infrastructure to serve the city from this police station. But I would be okay with it if it was a 2-lane road with an alternative access. So that could be accessible to the public if need be, or police going both ways, or fire truck and police, whatever. It needs to be the entrance. You're flooded over here, you need the entrance, not just the back door.
Even just not thinking about flood, just thinking about, we have to think about the other things that can go wrong in this world today, where we'll be in 20 years with terrorism, with shootings, with whatever.
Well, and
You want to make sure that the police can do their job.
Major accident or something, that block that entire,
yeah,
how are they gonna get out of there?
yeah, it's good. Jacob, 20 foot, does that needs a two-way access for in and out.
It's the 20 foot would meet our alley standard, which is the absolute minimum, so 10 foot wide drive lanes. The normal, our normal street has, 12 or greater lane, but it's kind of the bare minimum two-way. Without a hydrant. When there's a hydrant there, fire code wants 26, I believe.
The hydrants across the street, what Johnny's, I do believe.
I have one more concern that I just have to be frank about right now, which is that the potential for the weather to change and litigation to return with lube appeals. And so I don't want to keep wasting our time because this police station needs to happen. And so I'm wondering if we need to move on to a different site in order to get this done as quickly as possible with less drama. I'm just being honest about that.
I agree with that.
I
But
they
Counselor
don't
Cindy-
deserve it. The city doesn't deserve this.
But Counselor Sunday's point about the money issue is that we were assured that the price that was quoted still does meet McKinsey, the architects who are familiar with drawing up multiple police stations and fire stations, said that we could build this today if we started, if we could get this approved for the 12.6 million. Is it a little bit more than that? It's a little bit more than that, but it's real close to it. I mean, it's right there.
Well, and everyday inflation's kind of eating at that at the same time.
Yeah.
I mean, staffs, you have a project manager, you have a contractor, you have a design team all on standby right now, waiting, wanting direction to go work on a site and, whether it's to.
Can we hear from Toshkis what they want? You willing to do that?
Sure.
I think there's a few things. First, I want to thank all of you for meeting on this serious subject and have I think what we are looking at primarily is we don't want to see the whole thing die. That through this LUBA appeal, we thought the direction of the city would be to seriously consider other sites and move forward with them quickly. And our concern is that there appear to be some momentum to just try to have the whole thing stop. And that is a gigantic concern for us. So we are very confident in our position, but certainly discussing about collaboration of trying to bring, you know, there will be a legal proceeding potentially in regarding this site, and the outcome is, you know, uncertain, and resolution and putting the site back in play. In other words, removing the uncertainty of the time frame would help bring this site back into consideration. That was the only site potentially that could be done. In other words, this project would fail. We would not, for whatever reason, be able to politically will decide to move someplace else if it would fail. And I see elements of that still at work here at this council table today. So legally speaking, there was a question asked by Commissioner, is it Rosengard, about the threshold question hasn't been met, and so the mitigation procedures aren't going to be fruitful. And so that's the legal spot that we're in. But nevertheless, there is still potential for settlement of that. And then getting to Councilor Chilton's view that we should try to move this forward as quickly as possible, I agree with. And what we would like to see is an earnest effort to look at the site in the Holton. As we came and we spoke.
So I'm confused because this has to do with the LUBA case on this specific property, Steve. And we knew that we were already talking about the two other sites. We've already had a meeting, and then you came to our meeting and Robin came first, you came second, and you said you were gonna drop, you were proposing to potentially drop the LUBA case.
We were asked if we would consider it, and we said we would.
So we were already moving forward with the other sites, and now you're still saying what I heard you saying, and correct me if I'm wrong, but and maybe I am hearing it wrong, but I'm hearing that you still would be willing to go to legal battle over this site, and so now I'm even confused why we're here today when we had already moved on with two different sites, which were the potential with where the county is, or 18th Street, which was the first location out of 10 that were cited. A lot of your arguments that you gave were, in my opinion, because I've lived here all my life, I've never seen this flood, Robin. I've seen it flood. You lived here, and your dad has lived here even longer, and I've talked to people his age. I've only seen it between the stoplight and the bridge only that deep and flow back towards the creek, and that's the 80-year flood plan.
So we were asked, so you have a question?
Yeah, my question is, why are we here today if what I hear you saying is we've already moved on to those two sites, and now you're saying that basically you're rescuing us for those two sites, and that potentially what I hear is that you're still in a legal battle over this. So this isn't a potential site, or am I wrong? Am I hearing it wrong?
I think that, first of all, I was in the middle of trying to explain our position when I was interrupted.
Oh, I apologize.
And so I think I need to finish our thoughts in that regard.
Okay.
And I had almost completed them. I think I need to emphasize this, that I believe that there is a massive amount of pressure and internal political strife over actually, that there is a gigantic will with the administration to try to keep this site, this police station at this site. And the administration will not move forward. Let me finish our concerns. Please don't interrupt me, please.
Just shake my head.
Okay, thank you. that the administration will not move forward with the other sites. I did not see in the last planning commission meeting what I would describe as a serious effort to be looking at the other sites. And be moving forward with them in a meaningful way. And we became concerned that, wow, it looks like they would rather, and I'm talking about the administration, would rather this thing die than have it go someplace else. And I already hear the excuses being made. And so when we were asked if we would consider settlement, I said we would, because we would rather reopen this site and actually have it be a possibility than the whole thing die. But our preference is, if the city council has the will and the ability to control our administration and to move this thing forward in a meaningful and logical manner, absolutely. The other sites are our law that we should follow, and we absolutely should do it. It's in our best financial interest. It follows our overall financial planning for the whole business district to be invested in. And absolutely, that should be our first priority. And if this council and this planning commission feels that it has the will to be able to overcome what I see as internal resistance, and to get this project done, you should move forward with it and not even worry about our settlement. And so we're willing to discuss it, we are. But our primary objective is to have the right thing done for our people. And if that means that, the thing gets built. And we're willing to discuss terms and conditions to get it built, even in this very expensive place with all these problems where our law says it shouldn't be, we're willing to talk about it. But if the will is to move forward on another site, let's make it happen there. And I think I've answered your question, Sarah.
And very quickly, I assume that city attorney has, reached the position that the mitigation measures do make it lawful, and that's what the entire suit is about. So I don't, to the point, it doesn't sound like it's a settled point of law for anyone. Am I correct in that?
So yes, the city's attorney, it does see that, of course. But Mr. Toski has hired, being an attorney, has hired one of the best, and is throwing money at it to fight us. And I don't think the administration that I know has worked on this, John Walsh, Chief Greenway. I know Jacob's had a number of amount of time in this. I don't think administratively, and Gloria, our financial director, new financial director, I don't think any of us are saying we're not building a police station that I've heard, or trying to make it go away.
I just want to put one comment about that because I oversee administration along with the mayor. And I can guarantee you right now on record that John Walsh has done everything within his power to look into alternative locations for this police station. And he is doing everything he can to keep the city from going upside down, which is the city administrator's job. We are at this point right now where we have money for a police station and we cannot start building it. So now we're gonna be owing money, paying money on a debt that we can't even use right now. It's his job to tell us, hey, red flag, something wrong, like we need to figure out something else to do. That is what he was advocating for.
That's right. That's why he was proposing to move it into the urban renewal. It wasn't to kill this project. It was to save $1 million a year. Thank you, Councilor Chilton, because now I see where Mr. Toski was going with that, because he's on our budget committee and he's trying to probably politically position, because he is running for mayor.
Maybe that's what this is about, Mayor.
It could possibly be, Steve, huh?
I can tell you,
Well,
we
what I know is
sincerely said that we would open this avenue back up, so.
What I know is I sit here just one of, I think there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 of us here. I'm just one of 10, okay? And this is an open discussion. It sounds like we potentially should just move on, because Um. I mean, we did discuss this.
Well, is there anyone else from the planning commission or city council that has questions? Because this is the time to discuss it. Everything else.
I will say,
It's available too.
sorry, Rick, I will say that we did have a meeting, a joint meeting with the commissioners and with the city council where we looked at every single site and talked about them in detail.
But no money was discussed.
No money was discussed, but we haven't just, we're not being pressured just to choose this site. We were shown the pros and cons and we all talked about it and we went through a PowerPoint. So we aren't ignoring those and that, but Steve, you didn't make it to that meeting. I didn't see you there. So you had been the planning commission, meeting the day before, but we didn't discuss it at our planning commission meeting. It was at the joint meeting. It was a joint work session.
I'd like to make a comment that administration has never, in my opinion, put any political or any other type of pressure on us to cite the building at this Castle Road site ever. It's never been discussed that it was going to die. That was never, John, anybody else that was involved in the project has never said, we need to build it here or we're not gonna build it at all. That is not true. So he has been completely transparent and open to putting it in other places. And as a matter of fact, I believe, you correct me if I'm wrong, John, but the Holton on 18th Street, that was his first choice. Am I correct?
Yeah, that is correct. But and we're just, we report to the council said to work on, pick the project to work on. We worked on the project, it kind of went through the process. We're just looking for a project to work on. If you point us in the right direction, we'll get it done. And there's the variables change with this site because it's so shovel ready. So we're trying to look at the most cost effective ways to find sites that we can just lift this building up and put it somewhere so it's nice and in.
If you can say, well, I mean, I feel like we're kind of flying blind a little bit just because we don't know numbers. I mean, if you came to me and said, listen, if we cite this here, it's 12.6 or whatever it is, million. And if we do Holton, it's gonna be 18. Well, it would be more reasonable to figure out how we can work through this, if we could have better access, that access road could be improved somehow. It's like, but we're flying blind because we have no idea what the other sites even.
Yeah, I mean, it's it would be nice to kind of know, but without going out for like requests for bids, we don't want to put money and effort into that. Could it be something where we get ballpark figures? And kind of do.
I just know that, we started this process and I'd have to go back clear to when, I know the chief has done a number of open houses. On this project, we had an ad hoc committee. Which was George Dunkel, Diane Dillard, Russ Hubbard, looking at all these sites. There was, I think, 10 of them on there.
I'm sorry.
Okay, you were on that committee too. To say some of the arguments that this hasn't been cited and looked at is completely false. But my point is that we have a good group of officers, men and women, who only have one changing room, who have a dilapidated 2,200 square foot building, that did pick this site as their number one. That's why we went with it. The committee and us like the Holton building, 18th Street. The officers themselves are the ones who chose this site, the people who are going to be using it, and they have reasons why they wanted that site. That's why we, as a council, said that's the site. And then it came to the planning commission for a conditional use, got denied, which delayed, and then we had some controversy a little bit. Testimony given and trying to figure out the right moves and have it drawn up right by our attorneys and all that, which were delays. And here we are right now, when we have moved on with another delay. That's why I wanted to call this meeting. I wanted to find out a yay or nay from each and every one of you on your own belief systems, not what people have told you, what you've seen. If you need more information, please ask Jacob. Do we have a flavor for moving forward with this site? But after Mr. Toski's testimony, sounds like we're still in a fight. Willing to admit whatever faults we may have done along the way. I don't know what they are. I know administratively, we give 110% to the city. our community, our citizens, our officers, our staff, we give 110%. Our hearts are all completely in the right place. There's nothing shady about this. This has never flooded. I've lived here all my life. I've talked to plenty of 80-year-olds who's never seen this flooded either. The hydrologist came up with a different story. I get it. I get it.
This site is, the casserole site is scored well.
Well, not originally.
The scoring is in the slides.
The 18th Street came out was far and away the preferred site. But the other thing that's been left out of the discussion is the building was a different size. And the building shrank. So originally, the Castor Road site came to the front because it was a bigger piece of real estate. And the building was bigger. Well, now the building is shrinking. So it's like, so should we go back to the one the community chose? Because it was an ad hoc community that clear and away chose that 18th Street. It came back to council. I was still on council. Clear and away passed the council as that was the best site. Then it was like the building's gonna be bigger and the police want it over here. So then we kind of pivoted and now we're still, I've been off council 3 years.
Yep.
We're still talking about site here.
Exactly.
So I mean, I'm just giving you a little history for the people that the building's a different size. And there's been conversations, but this building is like, it's a chance to ring a bell once. In all of our lifetimes on this police station. So it's like, let's think about it and do what the community wants, what the community needs. And make the investment where it makes sense and just move forward, good, bad, or indifferent, and do what's right for our citizens.
And for what it's worth. Again, to distinguish between the lawful minimum and the is it a good idea policy level. On the is it a good idea policy level, I would be inclined to defer to the actual law enforcement agents who need to use the building. And if they say that's the best site for them, I trust their expertise because that's what they do. I am not law enforcement. I'm not a land use attorney either. So before I at very minimum need to see the various arguments to have an opinion about who has better argument about whether it's lawful under the ordinances or not. But on a policy level, I would defer to law enforcement.
So let me ask Mr. and Mrs. Toski a question. Will you guys be willing to drop the lubricase on this that after you've seen the access road and the building is not in the 100-year, it's 2 feet above the 500-year floodplain? That's a yes or no question.
Well, we are willing to settle the case under the terms and conditions that will be negotiated through our respective attorneys. And so you have the opportunity for this site without litigation if we can come to terms. And so I would say a soft yes, based upon what you said, Mr. Mayor, yes. I mean, we came to say we're willing to, we are willing to enter into a settlement. So if it's the consensus of this council and the planning commission and the council has the final decision, we want to move forward with the site, that there will be a way to do it. And then it's just a matter of coming to terms, and the terms are going to be pretty simple and straightforward. Along the lines outlined by Robin and myself.
So we are not going to let somebody come into us and intimidate our staff, though, and our administration. Put their heart and soul into this, and I'm coming back to that. So when you come to that settlement agreement, whether you want a public apology from myself or whatever, but I'm willing to say maybe there could have been a few things done a little bit differently. Maybe the planning commission, which we had 2 commissioners, and there was multiple meetings, could have been a little bit more informed than they should have been in the earlier stages. That I will agree to, okay? But it was talked about well before it ever came to the planning commission. And there was 2 planning commissioners on that committee. So that I can admit to. I don't know what else there is. So potentially yes, is what I hear. So we're getting close to any other discussion that's relevant. If this site was doable, if a limit complaint was dropped, who would be okay with it? A yay or a nay? That's what I'm just asking for direction. A yay or nay, though.
Yay.
Dan,
Yay with alterations.
okay,
Yay, with whatever it takes to, bring it up to compliance, that would work.
okay, Jessica,
I'm a yay, but I have a feeling the weather's gonna change. And we're gonna be right back in the same boat.
I'm an optimistic, okay? Counselor. or-
Or whatever.
You got promoted.
It comes back to the budget. For me, it was never about the
Yeah.
floodplain. It was always about the budget. It was about making it affordable for our community. And that's my primary concern, is not saddling the next generation with a burden. And so whatever site does that, whatever site pencils out financially is what makes sense to me. Because sure, I'd like the Taj Mahal in the corner of the Ritz, but I'd like a new car too, but we gotta do what makes sense financially.
Yeah, on the Casa Road.
Okay. Jacobson?
I'm still.
Neutral, you want to
Yeah. kind of.
abstain maybe, or?
Well. I'm happy with the gas site. It can be, I think, it can be managed, but, and also I do like that, the beef in the streets. And I'd like to see a pricing.
Okay.
I could go either way. Again, cost, that's a big thing to me. If one site's gonna be 12 million and the other's gonna be 20, then to me, that's an easy decision, but. I'm not opposed to either site.
Right.
I mean, yeah, I think all the risks have been well mitigated and I don't see a problem with it.
Okay.
One quick question I just need clarification on was, I know it was discussed at some point, the narrow bridge going over the creek. What needs to happen to that? Anything? Or is that gonna remain the same?
Narrow bridge going over the creek, Jacob?
That bridge is narrow. Seemed like we had some discussion about it early on.
I think it's an important capital project for the city sometime in the future, for all needs, because it's an important route. Does it directly relate to the decision? Maybe. I think we talked about it incidentally, but not directly as an influencer in the decision.
Could potentially be addressing the problem to not have to mitigate for. If it's hydrologically gonna pass the water through better than backing it up like a dam, then
Yep.
that's where you wanna put your money before you build stuff.
And it would reduce your floodplain and increase
You know,
access.
we've tried getting funding for that bridge, you don't give it out.
Sure.
We didn't recognize it as a bridge. I'm a
Give it
yay
out.
as well.
There
I'm
was
a
also-
yay, so I think we had, two nays and one undecided. Scott, well, you were undecided, right?
I could go for either side.
So undecided.
Depending on the price.
That bridge had, it was asked for a $12 million grant on that. It's public, I saw that, and I don't know where it went.
Yeah, we did apply to FEMA for a $3 million planning grant and it was not successful
For that bridge.
for that bridge.
How old
But yeah, well,
How old is that bridge? It's been replaced.
it's been hit almost every year.
Yeah.
I can't prevent that, right? But I don't think it's less than 30 years old, isn't it?
As the cathedral,
Yeah, I thought that it had been redone after the
I think they've done some work to it, like they put the little walk around path and stuff.
Alright.
Yeah. Mhm.
Sorry to do this, but we're coming up on our other meeting, so I'm gonna go ahead and adjourn. I think, we'll continue to work on both sides. I mean, we talked about that. And we're all looking forward to 1863, but, I'd like to sit down top of Robin and read a little bit more about what that is.
Thank you for the meeting and thank you for allowing us to speak.
Yeah.
I'm gonna break it down.
Party.
We'll go ahead and call this council regular session to order. Please join me in the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we have some young fun students here who entered our If I Were Mayor contest. And I am going to go ahead and announce the winner here. Okay, we received three, so they were all very well drawn out. They're up here. We're gonna show them off here in just a little bit. But our first place winner will receive $150. And then, lo and behold, we actually had, the two that were remaining actually tied for second place. We have 2 second place winners. Yes. Yeah, so you're gonna get a $50 check. So our first place winner is Gloria Bedoyan. I'm gonna go ahead and stand up here and I'm gonna better get that check left here too, huh?
Yeah.
You want to come up, Gloria? And this is your poster, right? You want to tell us a little bit about it? You just did a wonderful job. Love the animal shelters and the thoughtfulness that was put into this. So Crystal wants to get our picture right here. So let's turn around.
Yeah, her cover.
Here, I'll hold your poster, you hold that, okay? Then, I want you to wait up here though, because I'll probably get you all together too, okay? And then, you can give this to mom and dad. So then we're gonna have Daniel, Jess, come on up. Jesse, come on. And hope you, why don't you come on up? Why don't you each grab your posters over there? Because those are gonna be harder for me to hold on to. I'm gonna hold on to these and it's okay. So let's go ahead and
One of you stand on either side.
let's see, we gotta go this way now. Yeah, come on. I know. All right, you guys want to tell me about your poster at all? Yeah, you're good? Here, you go ahead, yeah.
My poster's about homeless shelters and garbage pickup.
Yep, it was very thoughtful. We really truly enjoyed it. So let me get you guys your checks and you can give them to your parents here. And here's your, you can go and put your posters back, but you can hold on. Yep. So.
Posters. Your posters. Thank you.
Yeah.
You're right here.
Here,
You
take that out.
can either like.
Let's put this over here. We're just gonna take the picture.
Here. We'll do it with our posters,
Okay.
and then if all three of you can stand in front of it after time.
All right, you go with your posters. You want them to hold on to them?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can. I see, I remember Councilor. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, we'll have you guys over here.
Okay. And here's your
Yeah,
poster.
grab your posters.
Yeah. And here is your poster. And there is your poster. Look at, they cleared the way for us. That's squeeze, squeeze a little bit tighter, right there. Okay, just enough to show them off.
Okay. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
All right, well, congratulations. Submitting that to state, and you have an opportunity to win $500 and go to the mayor's conference down in Klamath Falls this year.
Collins have a good winning record, so there's a good chance of that.
We've had a couple first place, second places. No, they can keep them. Yep. And we'll have a lunch at a later date, okay? Okay, now I gotta dig out proclamation here. Okay, it is National Library Workers' Day, April 9th, 2024. Proclamation. Whereas libraries are essential institutions that offer the opportunity for everyone to connect with others, learn new skills, and pursue their passions, no matter who they are, when they are on life's journeys. And whereas the passion and dedication of the library assistants and technicians, St. Helens Public Library contribute to the culture, enrichment, education achievement, economic development, and social cohesion of our city. And whereas St. Helens Public Librarians and library support staff bring St. Helens community experts assistance, professional services, both in person and online, by each year serving more than 37,390 visitors to the library, circulating over 65,000 items and presenting free programs for all ages. And whereas the library workers at St. Helens Public Library tirelessly serve our community, enriching lives and fostering literacy and lifelong learning through the expertise and commitment during the more than 2,300 hours the library is open year round. And whereas it is important to recognize the unique contributions of the library workers and value to the individual society to those contributions. And whereas the city of St. Helens joins libraries, library workers, library support across America are celebrating National Library Workers' Day, sponsored by the American Library Association Allied Professional Association. Now therefore, I, Rick Scholl, Mayor of St. Helens, do hereby proclaim Tuesday, April 9th as National Library Workers' Day. We appreciate all our dedicated staff over there and all they do. Please express that to the workers over there.
That's so long. Thank you very much.
Yep. Okay, and so now we're gonna go ahead and open it up for visitor comment. That period of time, and if you'd like to make a comment, come on up, state your name for the record, keep it to 3 minutes or less, and we'll take notes of action if needed.
Stephanie Patterson, and tonight I'm here as a member of St. Helens. And I'd like to make some observations regarding today's work session. Particularly E2C's presentation for their concerns on the plans for 13 nights. The agenda told us that there was going to be a discussion. And I want to be clear, I don't care really where you move it. I don't care if it stays, whatever you guys decide. I think it will be well thought out and well done. I've never experienced when you haven't done it. So, but I have a question. I want to know, why was there a hostile environment created when E2C stepped forward to do a counter proposal and a presentation? I've watched several organizations, departments, groups present material, all with patience, courtesy, and professionalism, and why not today? Why couldn't there be a discussion about fencing, and why was it summarily dismissed? Instead, our contractor was continually interrupted by the mayor, told her statements were ridiculous, even absurd. He even shouted, "I call BS,"
when E2C asked for additional funds for insurance to be covered by the city. No positions were explained. There was just simply yelling and sarcasm. There couldn't even be a dialogue about concerns. Communication was simply not allowed. The problems with a hostile environment is that no information from either side can be conveyed. A simple "I apologize for getting emotional" doesn't repair the communication, solve the problem, or worse, when it comes from leadership, it sets a tone not only in the city, but on social media, at board meetings, and in the general community as well. It gives permission to treat people rudely and disrespectfully. This isn't the only time or the fifth time I've seen E2C treated in such a manner at a public meeting. I really want it to stop. Thank you.
So I did publicly apologize to Tina Curry. I did go out after the meeting and tried to publicly apologize to Tina Curry. Brady Preheim was my witness, and she just walked away and did not want to talk. She is a hired contractor that has leveraged the city in many different ways and provoked our meetings and institution. And that's where the frustration came from. And that was no excuse for the behavior. And I apologize for that. And I went out and tried to make another amends in person outside of the meeting. I've also publicly apologized. And I went and tried to do it in person outside of the meeting. That's all I gotta say about that.
That's fine.
Other visitor comments?
Hello again. My name is Hannah Woods, a Columbia County resident. I also spoke during the work session in regards to the E2C contract as far as tourism goes. I don't think it's appropriate to rehash the items that were discussed over the work session, but I do think it's appropriate for in this environment to express not only our concern and ultimately our evaluation of the situation to be that an RFP should be put out for this contract. But I also want to reinstate some of the things that we had mentioned as part of the work session, saying that like we are absolutely committed to being a part of this conversation, and whether it's us that ultimately is given a contract or not, we feel like it's appropriate to really put out and put in place that there's a lot of local vendors and there's a lot of production companies in the greater Columbia County area that not only have a level of expertise, but also have a level of community-driven support that really can bring light to some of these issues and relieve some of these overall stressors from city council, local government, and even on a larger county scope. There's a whole new tourism initiative through Columbia County that myself and John Walsh also were participations of that can lead to a greater good of this community and its overall development of economic tourism. That being the case, I think it's extra prevalent to reinstate that these conversations, it was brought up multiple times that they are tending to be very political. And safety should absolutely be the forefront of all of these conversations. The city is under construction. There's a lot of change and there's a lot of development. And it's going to take time to do all of that. Whether it be myself, whether it be our company, whether it be E2C that continues to hold these contracts, I think it's important that no matter what, safety and public safety, especially when we're looking at thousands of people or even hundreds of thousands of people that are coming into these environments, that safety and that protocol be absolute forefront and absolute first point of conversation as far as we move forward in these tourism conversations. There's a lot of changes that are happening, not just in the city, but in the county as a whole. And it's important that we recognize all of those changes. Thank you.
Thanks. Hello, Nicholas Helmick, Ivan Helmick. So I just wanted to talk about, I was listening to the Parks and Trails Commission, I think the last one they had. with the Sand Island, people who we lease it out to were thinking about building cabins on that. And there was a clause in their contract saying that if they ever like went out of business or change, kind of ended the contract, the city would have to buy the cabins back. I feel like that might be something to look into for maybe adjusting the contract. I don't know if the city attorney can look into that, because if I was looking at it as a business perspective, if I want to leave or if I'm going out of business, I just build a bunch of cabins on there and then have the city foot the bill. Maybe even make a nice little profit on that. So just something to think about the cash strapped city. Oh, sorry, how cash strapped we kind of are. Ormic Park, I mean, I think it's just kind of a first world problem, if I'm being honest. Obviously, it's going to be a 1-year thing. The beer garden, you can tape that off. You can have alcohol monitors. I have my server permit, so I'd be willing to be an alcohol monitor. I was a road guard in the Navy in boot camp, so I could help people cross the street if needed. I understand though the vendors may have an issue with that, but when people are drinking, the walls get a little bit more loose. Oh, sorry.
Why are you signing us up for stuff?
And so, I mean, I think it's growing pains that the city is going through right now. We obviously have a lot of construction, a lot of issues that, are valid, but also in the long run, I think it's going to benefit the city as a whole. So I appreciate what y'all do. I know you get a lot of flack and a lot of one-sided stories, and some are valid, some are not, and just putting the stress and you guys going through the ringer. I'm sure it's kind of hard to do what you do. So appreciate you guys and women, sorry. And I hope that we just come to a good decision that helps out everyone, not just a few people in the end. So thank you.
Thank you, Nick.
Good evening. Thank you very much. Steve Toski, citizen of St. Helens. I commend the council for having on its agenda this evening, the final extension of the contract with our current tourism contractor. It's going to help us get through this year and have some stability with the situation. I think that sometimes I think looking at our processes and thinking, are we anticipating issues and how do we stave off problems? I think we are doing the best that we can, and we've got a lot of things on our plate. And maybe this is something, as far as renegotiating the tourism contract, could have taken a greater precedence last year. Toward the end of the year, didn't get done. This year, we started off the way we did. And so far, things are moving along smoothly. We've got a big year ahead. And I think, I do think it does qualify as an emergency in that if we cannot secure services from the contractor for the remaining of the year, it will be emergency. And so I think that this will provide stability. We'll be able to have our professional contractor who knows what they're doing, get through some very challenging tourism events this year, especially with all our construction. And then we can actually go through a very serious looking at for whatever process we want as far as vetting contractors, taking a look at what we have, including our current contractor, whether we can want to renegotiate a deal there, decide what we want in RFP, making sure that whoever is going to come and take over, if it's the same contractor, great. If it's a different contractor, fine. But definitely we have a great program here, and we need to be very, very careful and deliberate of how we maintain that fantastic program. You've seen how many businesses really depend on tourism. Let's be careful with that. So I think it's a great idea to just get this year under our belt, start looking at things carefully, so that we can make the best decision for our city and for our people at an appropriate time with an appropriate analysis. Thank you.
Pretty high. So I'm glad you're continuing the current tourism contracts to the end of the year. It would be stupid again to cancel it. I think it's fine to do an RFP. I think it's really inappropriate though for people to show up talking about pimping for an RFP that you haven't even submitted as if they know what it's going to do or what the job is, because you don't even know what the job is until you've written an RFP. I think that's very inappropriate. And then to sit there and talk about safety when we have a history of a contractor who's been here for years with never a problem, pulled it off during the middle of COVID, no infections. It's just really inappropriate for people to show up. There'll be a process if there's an RFP. That RFP though does need to be done June by the latest. Cannot for 2025. You cannot be screwing around and thinking you're gonna do the RFP at the end of this year. You need to do it June so that, because planning takes place now. As far as the discussion about moving, I think that it was also very inappropriate to echo Stephanie's comments. I think that it was clearly not a conversation about moving to McCormick Park, but it was a edict that you decided ahead of time. And I think that blindsided your tourism, and I think it was very disrespectful to your tourism director. And while all the council was talking about how great she is and appreciated it, your actions speak louder than your words, and your actions are that you don't treat her with respect. The fact that you discounted her comments and then said, oh, you're gonna move it. Frankly, I think it's probably illegal to tell her to do that because she's an independent contractor. That's sort of what independent means. And then to tell her, oh, by the way, you're gonna pay for the extra expenses. No, if you want it moved, you should absorb those costs. Shouldn't be out of tourism. She doesn't make money on 13 nights. 13 nights has never made money, probably never will. It is
a contract.
But it does not make money, and it's not tourism. And you threw it onto her contract. It wasn't originally. When she was here, her contract was to do 1 day or a weekend of Halloween Town, and it's expanded, and you've added other things to her, frankly, unfairly. Tourism doesn't really, 13 nights is not a tourist event. It's for locals. We all know that, and we need to accept that it is not a tourism event. And the fact that you make her do it already, as well as 4th of July, which is another huge expense that you expect tourism to pay for, which is also not a tourist event.
Pay her to do it.
You pay
I
her,
want to correct you, Brady.
you pay her $120,000.
You said
That does not cover any of those costs. If you think that that covers the cost, you're wrong.
Cut those events and cut the budget.
You could, though, and you know what Scappoose pays for a single day? 1 day, a 1 day event, Scappoose pays $100,000. So you thinking that you're paying our tourism contractor a lot of money to put on an event that doesn't make money is ridiculous. They pay more than as much as we pay for a 1 day event. She does how many days of events? And then you think that you're paying her? No, she generates her own revenues. And always has. And again, the 13 nights is not a moneymaker. I ran the 13 nights when the chamber had it. I know it doesn't make money. That was decades ago before any of you even thought about things. I don't even know if John Walsh was here back then when the chamber had did the tourism contract and did 13 nights. 13 nights does not make money. And then to add additional expenses onto her is just not okay. I mean, frankly, and then now I'm out of time, but since you interrupt me, take a couple more minutes. The police station, I don't frankly know what Toski's saying, whether he is. I don't understand. I've listened to him a couple of times and asked him directly. I don't know if he's a Louisville appeal or not a Louisville appeal or whatever. I don't understand it. I think clearly this is not a spot because who the hell knows what he's saying? I have no idea. And great, I guess that means he's a good attorney because I'm confused about what he's saying and I think you guys are too. So I don't know what, but to me, it seems like that's a done deal, that's not the location, move on. Frankly, I don't think we need a station and those people that you think it's gonna be a $12 million station, you're looking 30 for this station. I don't care where you put it, it's a $30 million project. And I think that there are other solutions. I think that you could have Russ Hubbard remodel the police station. I don't know if I actually pick him, but I think you could do it for a lot cheaper than $12 million. That what you think is really going to be 30. Remodel the station and build storage.
Your comments, come on up.
Wait. I had two.
Your name for the record, please.
Jenny Carlson, I have just a couple things. One is that seems like in the last 3 or 4 years, police have moved away from being community inclusive. We used to see them at all the events, at parades and donut day and trunk or treat, and they've moved away from that. And maybe if we're dedicating all this budget to building a new police station, it's time to put that public face back on. I know that we moved away from resource officers, all the places where police interface with the public in a non-criminal way has systematically gone away. And so I think that people might feel more connected to the police, more vested in the police if they saw them in a happy situation, because I know the kids love the Cocoa with Cop, they love all that stuff, and I think that's important that we stand together as a community. That's my police station take is, it's all for us, we're all gonna pay for it, so it needs to be for all for us. One thing is I went to Atlanta for Habitat International, and I know that I've had the conversation about diversity, equity, and inclusion, and I always get poo-pooed because this is not a diverse community. But what people forget is that is about taking people's power. Everybody in this room has the power and autonomy of themselves. No one's more important, no one's better than anybody else. And so whether you're talking over a woman, talking over a senior, or making a child feel like they're less than, we should never do that at all, but we certainly shouldn't do that in this room. So I just thought I would pass that out there. And the tourism thing, I missed the meeting, thank God, but from the sound of it, but just remember, I worked with tourism and volunteered when it was Amber Dennis, and it was 250 locals out there. And I also worked the weekend when we stood out there and sold pops to 15,000 people when Marty was here. I worked every single weekend. And I see the revenue that program was built by E2C. It wasn't built by Amber Dennis and me and anybody else. It was built by somebody that had a vision bigger than ourselves. And I think to the very least, we should treat that person with respect and be, good leaders for our citizens. I want to see other businesses want to locate here. I think this is a way to put on our best face. For people like, should we locate in St. Helens? When they tune into our meetings, they should be like, that's a class act. And that's what we should be doing here. And, sometimes decisions go my way and sometimes they don't. But I have respect for this building. I have respect for my community and for each one of you and the time and the dedication that you give, because it's not an easy chore. So I just want to appreciate all you guys. It's not always easy to have people yell at you and make hard decisions. That's not your favorite thing. Like, I didn't want that. But you have to do what's best for the community, not just the people that like you. I just wanted to, that's all I got.
Okay, other visitor comments?
Howard Blumenthal, you heard some of this earlier today, but I wanted to reinstate once again that I really would hate to see 13 Nights on the River be down here this year. I'm already seeing that I do a lot of walking, and some parts of the city right now have been cut off from us for a year and a half. So when people say the construction's just starting, you're at the far end of the property, it's been going on for a year and a half. And I hope that we start to get some things that are finished, so some ends of the city could be reopened to pedestrian traffic as more of the city coming this way gets closed to people. If you take a look at the traffic that's out there tonight, the city's very busy with lack of parking. Trying to get down the Tualatin staircase right now. It's not closed, but you get to the bottom of it. You're walking through a construction site now. I really don't even know how you're supposed to walk through that area safely. I know that it looks like we're getting ready. We're 3 to 4 months behind on the intersection. We had a big thing in the newsletter that comes out about the waterfront. It said it was going to be January, February, March. We're going to be done with the intersection by Jillies, and it hasn't even started yet. So the worst is yet to come in this city as far as pedestrians trying to get down here. I'm concerned on how I'm even going to be able to come down here to city council meetings from my neighborhood without going for a half a mile or a mile detour for walking to get down here. The other one I want to talk to you about is the Flying Eagle once again. We really do enjoy that boat. I have my misgivings about, I don't want to say it. We'd like to have the Flying Eagle be in somebody's hands who helped build it and stuff. I'm a little bit worried that if it gets declared surplus property, before we know it, somebody could come in offer $1,000 for it and walk away with our heritage. You know, I really hope that there's a way for it to kind of still keep some ties with St. Helens, which Willowville would do. You know, I want to try to have trust in that he would bring it back. If it's declared surplus property, what keeps somebody else from coming in, paying $1,000, $2,000 for it, walking away with it, and never see it again. So that's my thoughts on that. Thank you.
Hello, Bill, here to talk about finding one last time. First, I want to say thank you guys for taking my comments, for taking my emails, for taking my passion, for understanding how important this is to me, not just for me, but for the history of that canoe, and that canoe was carved here in St. Helens. Over the years, there was discussion about maybe even giving this back to John Ruskin in Mississippi. He's the main carver. He's really the guy. And I've always said, no way. It belongs here in St. Helens. This is where it was carved. It's where it was born. As far as being a historian's, nothing better than doing what I got to do with that thing. Tell you where I'm at right now. I got a 28-foot dugout canoe sunk in Lake Tahoe. Lots of people have never seen a dugout canoe that are alive. That's what they told me 2 years ago. After floating around on that lake for 155 days in the last 2 summers, the lake was crying to me. What they've done to the Chinese, to the natives, what they've done to people with the cement shoes. Canoe told me, hey man, you need to sink me. And I did. I went to the watch show and I said, this is where it's at, man. And they said, do what you need to do. Well, we believe in you. 17 years ago, around when it was, 2006, I came in front of this commission, this board. And I asked for that log to be given to me and take on a mission. And that was to give it its story. Because you guys had asked us to carve a canoe. You guys all said yes to this. I hope that we remember that faith that you had in me, because it's 16 years later and that canoe's still here with many, many more stories. John, as you said yourself, it's got hundreds of miles on it. Who did that? Do you know who put the hundreds of miles on? You do. So I just want to say, please believe in me. I've never said it was Willow Bill's canoe. Never will. I'll always tell you Willow Bill will take care of it till Dad died. Simple as that. So once again, thank you for your time and what you've done in hearing me. I'm not PC at all. I'm a dugout canoe captain that makes sure everybody comes home alive. And that's what I've always done. There's no safety hazard here. I explained in an email how in 2006, after in 2005, the National Bicentennial was asked to remove their canoes. Our group was told, go ahead. And the first thing I do, I'm a teacher in Northern Nevada, 50,000 children. Our number one rule, very simple, safety first. I put power tools in their hands, kindergartners, willowbill.com. Can't beat it. So, you know, please just love that canoe.
Will. Visitor comments?
Adam St. Peter, St. Helens. I want to start off my statement tonight by saying that I respect the council's decision to actually agree with you to stay out of the social media posting. I've learned through my career to use every possible resource available to do my job to the best of my ability. Social media can be a wonderful avenue for that. Sometimes it can be hard to navigate through all the name calling, meritless arguments, and bullying that happens. Is everything you see on social media 100% right? Nope. If done properly, it can be a great insight into the views of your constituents. Unfortunately, the page we created for transparency and accountability, where information was initially posted and used for constructive discussion, turned into an adult daycare with very little productive dialogue. We've made a few changes and it seems to have corrected most of the problems, and the productive dialogue is resumed. Civil discussion, productive dialogue, and debate is able to happen again with very little oversight. Now my gripe about council. Two things. When will we have an RFP for tourism? Brady just told me that the only thing really tourism is Halloween Town. Those were his mouth, everything else is for the locals, so let's get it done. You know, based on the loose words of Brady on January 3rd, Halloween Town is planning starts the summer, the year before the current event. Although I hate to say it, I think we need to listen to them. You know, we need the RFP, and whoever the contractor is gonna be, let's get it settled by June or July. Let's rip the Band-Aid off, let's make it happen. You guys have that ability. With no RFP, there's no emergency. We cannot have an emergency without an RFP. Apparently, there is at least one other organization wanting to submit based on today's work session. Could they start and have a seamless transition if the RFP was put out this week? Are they qualified? Until a formal RFP goes out, who would know? It really shouldn't take this long. For months, the ownership of the funds in the Wanna Trust account has been a very contentious issue. The reason for that is the purchases made on the account, boat, tram, insurance, various other high ticket items. And if it doesn't sound it doesn't sound for sure that anyone actually knows who's paying for the insurance from, you know, today's work session, or a little bit of, you know, unknowns. I was informed that there will hopefully be some clarification on the ownership of the Wanna Trust account during tonight's regular session. Hopefully this will answer a lot of questions. Two major concerns out of Monday. E2C, Tina Curry, it appears will also be working with the city of Rainier. Congratulations to Tina and E2C. What a great opportunity to grow her company. I, as a citizen, want to be 100% assured that none of the funds in the WANA account are being used for the city of Rainier if they actually belong to the city of St. Helens. If they belong to E2C, the citizens have no say on where those funds go. The second part of this is the funds in the WANA account, or if they belong to the city, there's a long list of questionable purchases and assets being acquired that will probably need to be provided to the citizens. Were they purchased by E2C or donated or both? If there is no clear answer on the ownership of the funds, I think a thorough investigation, written explanation, and public statement needs to be made to the city residents on what actions led to this disaster of not knowing the ownership. Accountability is a must. Thank you guys for your time. Appreciate it.
Any other visitor comments? Any high school students out there want to make a comment?
Thanks for credit.
All right,
No one online.
no one online? Okay. Okay, not seeing any other visitor comments, so I'm gonna go ahead and go on to our first item, which is resolution number 2002. A resolution adopting findings in support of and authorizing an emergency procurement of tourism services.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution number 2002. A resolution adopting findings in support and authorizing an emergency procurement of tourism services.
Second with discussion.
Okay, second, a motion's been made and seconded, discussion.
So I have a question for John, just for clarification about this, since this is obviously a hot topic. I feel like everyone deserves to hear the answer to this. So my question is, this extends out the current contract and contractor until December 21st. That's the first part. And in that time frame, will we still be working on and enacting an updated contract and forming and executing the RFP process? Is that correct?
Yeah, thank you, Councilor, or Council President Chilton. So our legal counsel has all the components that they need. Councilor Sandin. Hubbard, sorry. Are, you know, we're prepared to meet and discuss that when it's ready, and it hasn't been ready, so.
Well, it hasn't been ready.
We
started this in November.
I understand that, yeah, it's frustrating for me as well. So, but we can.
Well, she rejected the first one, right? Went out to her and she.
Yeah, I'm not sure that we've even got that far yet on that. There's the RFP and then there's the contract, so it's two separate documents.
So is she gonna work under the new contract, or is this just the old contract push forward?
I think through the end of the year, it's the existing contract push forward, and we're working on the RFP and a new contract.
I don't know why we can't get it done. We put in the time and we're waiting for get this rolling and we're still pushing it ahead.
I understand it's frustrating for me as well that we're not getting there.
Well, I mean, yeah, who's dragging their feet?
The attorney. The city attorney, the city.
Let me get another one, they'll do the job. I mean,
I mean,
Put some pressure on the council. I know we've been getting a lot of information lately.
from what I understand, you know, slowing down because he had some questions, but they never got answered.
That's on the contract side, not on the RFP side.
So he had some-
Advertisement for the proposal to go out is a different document than.
So our attorney had questions on the contract side?
Yes.
Let's see.
did those get answered?
Yeah, there's been a dialogue back and forth on the contract and it just kind of stalled. They focused on getting this out for the extension and we still have the RFP is the next piece of that. And I will get with them. I don't know if they're online right now. We can do that, but
Yeah, I mean, that's,
it's been really frustrating.
they have concerns on the contract. I want to know about that.
A lot of contract, but, the RFP, we were gonna get going on that so we can have it in hand and put it out.
Supplied the old one to them. They were gonna take a crack at it. They just haven't got to it.
The old one is, I mean, relatively outdated, right?
It's been revised many times over the years. It's been, yeah.
You can't put an RFP out on the existing contract, because you're gonna have a whole new RFP that would be not tailored to.
Well, we would have a new contract. The one we're working on, right, is temporary to get us through the rest of this year. And then we would have a new contract and the RFP, correct?
And the RFP will have a scope of work that needs to be defined and discussed with the council about what exactly you want this contractor to perform. And that's where we're at.
So the attorney has it. Then they're gonna bring it back to us and we're gonna look at this RFP. And the contract, but they're separated, so they might not be at the same time.
So the RFP is the priority.
Okay, so you switch gears with the attorney to get the RFP.
Well, I don't think it's fair to our current contractor to be negotiating a contract in the middle of the season. It doesn't seem right to me.
And we're not, we've extended.
We would extend it, right, and then it would start at the beginning of next year.
Correct.
So that seems reasonable to me.
The problem with that is we started at the beginning of this year and everybody lost it. They said, how can you start in December and January? And now we're gonna extend that to the
The same deadline.
exact same period.
Yeah,
But we'll have a contract in place and the RFP will be in place.
before that,
Yes.
hopefully.
Well, if it gets the, yes.
But I think we all wanted this to be expedited and hurried as fast as we could, and I think it was January that we submitted this and they were gonna get right on it, and now it's April. We've already extended it 6 months, and now we're gonna extend it another.
6
Like we're
months.
just kicking it down the road.
I would like to say that we have had struggles with our city attorney.
You can't speak.
With our city attorney and,
We can tell her,
we
you guys
have
have facts.
we have had a lot of things that were put in front of that as far as like getting public records requests done. And we're on a time limit on that. So with the staff that they have, we were having them do a lot of that stuff because they have to review a lot of that. So I think you're right in that we have to say that this has to be brought up to the forefront and get it out there so we can get it published.
Did everybody hear that? Just that we're working with our attorneys and the amount of public records requests we were getting those have time sensitive issues and those were taking precedence because there was a lot of them coming over some of our legal staffing time is what I heard you saying. Okay, I've heard of it. Thank you for the explanation, but I would agree with Counselor Sundin and Counselor Hubbard, that there is a sense of urgency on all this. And I question what, it would be nice to have had some information with an attorney prior to this. Just about the contract discussion. That's just what do you see in the old contract that you guys have changed that is disturbing to him? He works for us legally.
Last email I got from him, he was working on issues that Tina had with what he came up with. I recall. So he was reworking that because of her request. She didn't want to do some of those things. So he was reworking it to a degree where he was gonna present it to us or we were gonna get it. And that was quite a while ago.
I thought we were gonna have it within a week.
Yeah, and it just went away.
I would have liked to have this resolved months ago so that we could.
Yeah, it'd been nice.
Extended it a month ago, yeah.
Now we're just kicking it down the road and nothing's changed.
I think to always be the case with this. John, we need you to get on this because you do oversee tourism. And that's just the bottom line. That's the way it needs to be.
It just needs to be cleaned up. This is just a really messy process and it needs to be cleaned up and it needs to be structured. And it's not that hard to do it, to just get it on a, a timeline that fits and that our contractors can count on also, so we just need to do that. So we're not hashing this out again at this time next year.
The part for me is I don't think there is an ideal time because we do have year-round events. So whenever you do it, it's gonna be an issue because it takes months of planning to prepare these events.
Yeah.
And that was my point with extending the contract.
Things solved. That's what we're trying
Well,
to
I
do.
know that, but we can't, it's in the hands of the attorneys. So we get feedback from the attorneys, what are we gonna do?
Well, I don't even know why an attorney would be writing a contract with one of the contractors to create a contract for that one contractor. I mean, that's strange in itself.
Well, I would agree with that.
I think we just need to get an answer from him. He can come on or what? It's Peter Hicks, right?
I don't
So,
think we have Peter though.
No, we don't have.
Bill.
I don't even.
Bill's not even here in the evening.
How's it end?
Yeah, I've been doing my best to move this along, but it's been really frustrating and we'll work harder at it.
As a council, what do we wanna do?
I don't think we have many choices right now. It's either we, let things blow up or we continue and agree to the emergency resolution. I don't know.
That's my thought on it, and hopefully we get the contract within a timely manner, so we can get all this squared away. But you're right, there needs to be some pressure put on.
No, I think we have a little bit of time. I mean, and as crazy as, and I'll hear all about it. Trust me, they'll show up and give testimony. But because that seems to be, it's like appears to me we're 3 months out from her contract extension being up, July 1st.
Is that correct, John?
July 1st. Yes, she's contracted through June 30th.
Well, I'm assuming you put.
So I would like to have some of
on
these questions from these attorneys. And you guys were working on it, and I'd like you guys to continue to work on it. And I think as a council, John, whatever, if our attorneys are too busy with public records requests, find one that can get it to the finish line, take the work and finish it. That way it's not on us, it's not on the city. The city, there's an attorney that'll do it for the right amount of price. Let's get it done.
Okay. Again, the RFP is basically an advertisement.
And the
for
contract.
services, right?
And the contract.
Contracts and the other.
If there's some,
They both need to move
if
forward.
there's anything legal, yes.
So can you speak to that though, John? Is he correct that if we don't have to vote yes on this tonight? What happens if we do not vote yes on this? We vote no?
he's still contracted till the 30th.
Right, I just want him to say if that's
The
true.
thought has been that, what you talked about before is to move it towards the end of the year to get out the time for the RFP to run its course. Have would-be contractors come in and see the events and experience the events, and then have a process more towards the end of the calendar year that you can do your selection and negotiate a contract towards being that following year. That's what we've been talking about.
Pushing around the world every time.
Councilor Hubbard, what would you like to, just so everybody can hear, I know.
Yeah, sorry, I was, yeah, it would be nice to see, we started it. And we thought it was going, and then it just faded away. As far as them being too busy for a records request, the attorney doesn't do the records request. It's their offices, so he's got time. He's got a lot of time into it.
Yeah.
So let's get that done and table this till next time or whatever it takes.
Okay, well, we have a motion that's been made and seconded, so we have to vote on it. But we can, so, I think it's okay to have 2 weeks, you guys get together, John. You, Peter, get together with these guys, wherever he left off, finish it up, send it to these guys, send it to Tina. Whatever it takes to have a contract and an RFP.
Are you saying leave it as it is?
No, I wanna know.
He wants the revised contract.
No, I get that, but the timeline. Leave it at the June 30th deadline.
Well,
Not
right
extend it.
No, that's not what I'm saying. I said it'd be nice to have, a newer contract.
And then if you wanna go
You
to
can-
the next
you-
6 months, you've got the new contract.
Under a new contract,
With the RFP.
cause I don't like half the questions in the old one. I don't think they benefit the city. I don't think our attorney would agree, but that's up to you guys to figure out, you and Brendan.
Say again, this is in all of our wheelhouse too. It's just.
Yeah.
Russ and I were the ones that spoke up and said we'd be willing to take a
And
look
we
at it.
appreciate that, yeah.
So I don't want it to think that it's just us, that this is,
Yes, it's not.
everybody has a say,
Well,
so.
2 years ago, I dug into the contract myself, so I've already been there and that's why I appreciated fresh eyes looking at it.
This is not a job performance and abilities. This is about a legal binding contract. So I think to rush into it is a mistake. Yes, and I heard you all saying you're uncomfortable where we're at right now. Let's be, thank you guys for working on that and let's get it done. Right, John?
Get it done.
All right, so we had resolution 2002. It's been, motion's been made and seconded. Council President Chilton,
Nay.
Councilor Sundin,
I'm gonna know at this time.
okay, Councilor Gunderson,
On the nose wall.
Councilor Hubbard.
What's the question now?
We're just asking for the approval of the contract extension. Okay, nay, and I'll be a unanimous nay. We're going to get this put back on our agenda when we have the attorney stuff. And we're not gonna rush it. Okay, approve and authorize for signature agreement with Lower Columbia Engineering LLC for erosion and sediment control inspections.
Move we approve and or authorize for signature items 3 as read.
Second.
Okay, a motion's been made and seconded to approve and authorize for signature agreement with Lower Columbia Engineering. Council President Chilton.
Aye.
Councilor Sundin.
Aye.
Councilor Gunderson.
Aye.
Councilor Hubbard.
Aye.
I'm an aye as well. Okay, consent agenda for approval, council minutes dated January 2024. 24th, 2024, declare surplus property, police department, accounts payable bill list. That'd be 4 through 6.
Motion to approve consent agenda items 4, 5, and 6.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded to approve consent agenda for approval 4, 5, and 6. I was telling Nick showed up here and was contacting me about the surplus property. And I had to explain to him the process for the police department, that it does go to their general, their budget, but we have to declare it as surplus property. And then it can be sold, so, just want to make that clarification. Councilperson Chilton,
Aye.
Councilor Sundin.
Aye.
Councilor Gunderson,
Aye.
Councilor Hubbard, and I'm an aye as well. Okay, we had a few work session items that were action items. And,
Mark was gonna read them?
Mark, will you, you know,
I don't have that one, but I'll
Oh,
read.
no, I made sure you had it. It's on top of your pile there.
Okay, I'll read them. Okay, work session action items, leak adjustment at 404 North 12th Street. I move we approve the utility account adjustment for 404 North 12th Street, $3,435.40.
Second.
okay, motion's been made and seconded to approve, the leak on North Fourth, is that one, the right one?
That's correct.
Okay.
Well,
North 12th.
12th,
You
yes.
better give me that, yeah, you can just
No,
mix
stop.
that. All right, Council President Chilton.
Aye.
Council Sunday.
Aye.
Council Gunderson.
Aye.
Council Hubbard. And I'm an aye as well.
Leak adjustment at 695 North Columbia River Highway. I move we approve a utility account adjustment for 695 North Columbia River Highway of $1,141.08. And that.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded to adjust the Columbia River Highway leak. President Chilton.
Aye.
Council Sunday.
Aye.
Council Gunderson.
Aye.
Council Hubbard.
Aye.
And I'm an aye as well.
13 Nights on the River venue. I move that 13 Nights on the River be moved from Columbia View Park to McCormick Park for the 2024 concert series due to the numerous construction projects occurring in the waterfront and downtown area.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded to move the 13 Nights to venue from downtown to McCormick Park. There's a lot of discussion on it earlier. It wasn't about blindsiding anybody. It was about our staff, our administrative staff met last Tuesday. And this is the police department, our public works, engineering, planning. Everybody said with all these projects going on downtown, which are 6 in total, that it would not be a safe venue this year. So that was pretty much our discussion, but we were gonna push back because we're trying to. Anyhow, Council President Chilton.
Aye.
Council Sunday.
Aye.
Council Gunderson.
Aye.
Council Hubbard. And I'm an aye as well. Okay, right?
I do. Flying Eagle Canoe. I move that the Flying Eagle Canoe be declared surplus at our next meeting and that the canoe be advertised for surplus property.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded. Now we'll go to discussion. Kathy.
As far as the disposal of the surplus property, the options are to give it to another government, do it by auction, do it by bids, a liquidation sale, fixed price sale, trade-in, or donation. So that was one of the things that the motion should say, is that you're going to do it for a fixed price sale or a bid.
What about donation?
Yeah, that's where I'm going.
Donation would be to a 501c3.
Okay, so we'd like to have an auction then. Let's do an auction.
We can't, you're not a 501(c)(3).
Yeah, yeah. So
Okay.
if we did public notice, could we have an auction next council meeting?
I don't know if there's enough time. I'd have to look at the code to see what the time advertisement is.
But we can choose that, we can approve this surplus and use those, we don't have to pick those options right now, do we?
You would, if you pick the option, then you're directing staff as to what we need to do to
Yeah,
get.
we want you to look at what an option would look like.
Kathy, if we use our 501(c), is there a way we can make that work?
Yeah, I mean, you're a 501c3.
Yeah, we have to declare it a surplus property, so we might be able to talk, yeah. So,
And give it to you guys.
Can we work
You'll
this
give us a
out?
little bill.
I'm pretty sure we can work something out. Okay, but I have a motion that's been made and seconded to declare it surplus property.
Change it to donation.
Change the motion is actually to declare it surplus at the next meeting. Cause it wasn't in the it wasn't on the agenda.
Okay, all right.
So.
So the motion was to declare it as surplus property, and then the next one it gets approved, because that's government. Yeah, we have to, just like the police had to do, they gave notice, they put it up, what it was. So, all right, Council President Chilton.
So wait a second. If we're voting yes on this so that it can.
Go on
at
the next
meeting?
agenda, yeah,
Okay, and then we can decide if it's gonna be donated to a,
Yes, we can.
okay.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, Councilor Sine, Councilor Henderson, Councilor Hubbard, and I'm an aye as well. Do we have one more?
No, that was it.
Okay, we'll go ahead and go with council reports, and I gotta go use the restroom, so, after I'm.
Pass it to
Yeah.
Brandon, okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so one of the first things I wanted to address in my report was the comments that were made about community policing. I wanna say that this, I sound like a broken record, but the problem that we're facing right now with the community policing is the capacity issues. We don't have the staffing to put a police officer in the school. It's not because we don't want a police officer in the school. It's not because we don't want a police officer doing hot cocos at Burgerville. It's because we don't have enough police officers to maintain patrol of our streets 24 hours. We took a detective out of a detective role and put him back on patrol, even though we have a huge amount of really severe child abuse cases and really nasty stuff and a lot of detective work, but we don't have the ability to do that right now. And even with that being said, we still have police officers reading books to kids at McBride on their own time and doing community work on their own. So I just want to clear that comment up. And then last week I went on a tour of our Public Works Department, and I was really blown away with the work that our Public Works is doing. From the streets to the parks to the lagoon and the sewer, and I just learned so much, and I'm super appreciative of all of the men and women that we have working in Public Works, and I felt like I was greeted really well. A lot of hard questions, because there is, you know, a lot of stressful things going on in the city budget wise, and I think we all felt a little bit of those hard questions, but that's part of, you know, how this all works. We're here to make hard decisions and answer hard questions, but I'm still very appreciative of everyone that works in our Public Works Department. So I just want you to know, thank you for, you know, embracing me and showing me things and just being open to that. A reminder for Citizens Day. Citizens Day is coming up on June 22nd, and we still have a list of volunteers that we need. So we would love it if people could come to us and volunteer for this city event. It's one of our favorite events that we have, and we need volunteers more now than ever. So please help with that if you can. The mega egg hunt was over Easter, and it's of course a huge community favorite. And I was proud to be a part of it and seeing all the local businesses that donate and the volunteers that donate their time for this completely free event. And it's just amazing to see everyone come together every Easter for that. So shout out to them and all the hard work they did for that. This Friday, I will be meeting with the local public safety coordinating council, which I'm a member of for the city of St. Helens. So I hope to report back on some of the updates that we're seeing countywide for our public safety. I also wanted to do a shout out to the Empty Bowls fundraiser that the food bank does annually. It's next Friday, the 12th from 5 to 7 at McBride. It's a really great community fundraiser for the food bank, which is a huge asset in our community. So I encourage people to go and be part of that. And then I recently got asked by the Lions Club locally to come and speak to them about some of the updates happening in the city. So I'm looking forward to talking with some of the Lions Club members and just trying to share what's going on with the city for people that aren't in these meetings or following us on our famous YouTube channel. So I have, thank you.
Famous.
It's all because of you. You're the star of the show.
Counselor Sunday.
Just a few things, as far as the Parks and Trails Commission goes, they had a couple of, new applicants this week. I heard the interviews went great. Looking forward to having a full crew on the Parks and Trails Commission again. That's a great group, and I appreciate all the work that they do. There is Howard, is Howard still here? Correct me if I'm wrong, Howard, but at Nob Hill this week, there is on Saturday the 6th, there's a work party from 1 to 3. Gonna be pulling out some ivy and doing some other work there, so they are asking if you can to pre-register for that, so you can find that, I believe, on the Friends of Nob Hill Facebook page. But would encourage you, if you have some time this week, show up, that's okay. So I encourage you to do so if you have the opportunity. Again, want to congratulate Terry Massey on 5 years. I think that's a great accomplishment, so thank you, Terry, for all that you do. And also wanted to touch on community policing. I think community policing is important. Talked to Chief Greenway about this, and he's already pledged this year to make it a goal to be more active in the community. And he's already promised me that we're going to see him at the Kiwanis Parade. And I think community policing, again, is great. But when your population is growing up and your level of crime is going up, that takes priority to some of the things where they would like to be. I know if they had the opportunity, they would be at every community event that they could be. I have a ride-along scheduled this week, so criminals, if you're listening, please behave, because I'm not very brave. So.
I'm sure they're listening to our meeting.
Also, I had a visit last week with Russ and a couple of potential investors at the paper mill site. And I think I can speak for all of us that we're very excited over those prospects, and we're gonna work and do what we can to get things moving there. And also had a great discussion with Ethan Sterling last week from Public Works, and talked with him a little bit about safety in the city and the safety committee that he works with. And just want to thank Ethan and all of those that work with him to keep the city and the city staff safe. So thank you, staff, and thank you, everybody, for all that you do.
Thanks, Counselor Sunday. Counselor Gunderson.
I got to tag along with Council President Shelton to the Public Works on the Public Works tour. I saw a lot of things that frankly, the wastewater treatment plant was amazing. And I got to learn about that. A lot of great people, very friendly. I'm very proud of the work that they do, and that we don't hear about. Like I told them, I said, the only time we hear about you is when there's a problem, and they all kind of agreed. Yeah, that's fine. I want to keep in mind, everybody to keep in mind that we do have the police, speaking of the community policing, we do have the levy coming up for the police department in May. I hope that passes. I know I'm going to vote for it. And so I did some research. I was doing some research on like the amount. I know we're understaffed already, but I did happen to stumble across defundthepolice.org, and I typed in the St. Helens and our area code, and we're even below what they would recommend for policing. So that says something when people are trying to defund the police, and we don't have enough police to defund. So
we've done a really good job.
So we've done a really good job of defunding our police, unless I misinterpreted the information. So just, I really want this to pass. We need these officers. It'll add for the community policing aspect of it, and it will, deter criminals, and we'll be able to catch these bad guys. There's a lot of bad stuff that we don't hear about that goes on. I happen to be in a position where I hear about more of it than I would say most people, and it's pretty concerning. So I hope that passes, so you can please support that. We'll do. And think about everybody, including those people that won't be able to afford it. Because those may be the people that need to make that call and have somebody show up. That's all I got.
Thanks, Mark. Councilor Hubbard.
Last month, the library, we had a hard time pulling the quorum together, so we didn't have a meeting. But Suzanne's Friday emails are just enlightening, because she says what they've done that week and who's doing what and who's come in, and maybe someone came in and needs some help, and they know where to direct them and all that. So people are coming, because it's really great to see the week of what all you do during the week. So that's great. Brandon and I just went through the mill site. We've got this offer from Arcadia. And so, Ron Hoteling and I got Craig Allen to come on down, and walk the site with us because they've literally rebuilt the machines before and know the site very well. And it was great walking through physically the areas that they want. And, it's exciting because to find someone that wants to take on a massive project like that, sees the value in getting those machines running. I walked through a couple other companies that were foreign, but they were talking scrap. And so options are neat when you see someone that wants to put the machines back together. And immediately in the startup phase, 70 employees, good paying jobs. And as we saw one night, they're sitting out here already, ready to go. So we've got to get to the point where we can sit down and look at their proposal and get to a point of getting it going further in selecting the money's always an issue and what they want to do and that sort of thing. But the discussion we need to get on and not let this one sit because we've got a good opportunity, I think, with these guys. And they're flexible too. So it's not like they want exactly this and this. So I'm excited. So I want to keep this thing going and I don't know what, John, you can put that on an agenda or whatever we've got to do to get this rolling with their offer. So.
All right, thanks, Russ. Yeah, so again, we want to let everybody know that we actually got a letter sent to us from American Korean Solar, and it basically reads, I'm going to read it verbatim. First and foremost, we'd like to extend our deepest gratitude for the last 6 months of partnership with our company in our goal to find a feasible site for our project. Given that the letter of intent with the city and the will serve letter with PGE have come to an end, it is unfortunate that Runergy has not come to a decision that is beneficial to either parties. We will not ask for another extension of the LOI or the will serve, and we understand we will lose the exclusiveness on this site. This is a difficult decision for us, and we understand we may not have the same opportunities in the future. On behalf of the rest of our team, we are thankful for all the time and resources you have dedicated to this project. So, I was a little bit upset just because we got a letter and we should have had a debrief at the whole meeting. I want to thank the governor, Tina Kotek, her team, Business Oregon, Governor's Regional Solution Team, Paul Vogel over at CSET. Especially want to thank Mohammed Zaire, the amount of time that he put into this project. And I would echo Councilor Hubbard's sentiment on let's get going on this other opportunity. Let's make it happen. So, I always believe things happen for a reason, and I don't know why on this one yet. Half the comments I see out there that we couldn't land the deal were half of you were the ones that were saying these are Chinese workers too. So you were gonna bitch no matter what. Yeah, I read them. I read your comments. Couldn't get it done. City couldn't get it done. All the city's bringing in Chinese aged people, military people. I heard it all. Seen it all, and some of you had the same comment on either issue. So, anyhow, we have a lot of construction going on downtown here. And I'm glad to see that Ron, Craig, and Rory, are here. It shows a huge interest that you guys are here immediately. The meeting following after, we got this letter that you're here saying let's do business. That says a lot. And like Councilor Harvey said, we have directed to work really closely with you guys and see if we can come to an agreement.
And to make it a priority.
Yes, so appreciate you guys being here. But we have a lot of construction going on downtown, and yes, 13 nights is a better suited place is out of the construction zone at McCormick Park. I hope it's not too difficult for our contractor, but it is the only feasible site that works. See, what else did I have going on? Oh, yeah, congratulations to, Terry Massey too. He's been of service to our community longer. I go, how do you been longer than 5 years? He was a reserve officer prior to getting hired, so the reserve program used to work. I'd like to see, and I know we talked about it being reinstated, trying to work with a couple, it just worked, at the time and it for a long time. So, congratulations to Terry with 5 years in the city. April 9th, go down and thank our workers. It's National Library Workers Day. Go down and thank our workers, and they do a lot for us down there. And it's a good, safe place. So I don't think I have too much more to get out there and catch a springer if you're a fisherman. I haven't yet to touch one, so drive me crazy. So with that, that's all I got.